Hello and welcome back to Global English Podcast, the place where we break down English for you, giving you the vocabulary and the insight you need to feel fully informed. I'm your host, Jordan.
And I'm Taylor. It is genuinely good to be here today.
It is so great to be here because today we are diving deep into something I think every single listener and frankly every person on Earth has struggled with.
Oh, yeah.
Reinventing yourself. We're looking at the science of change, the psychology behind shifting who you are at a really foundational level.
And how to actually do it, like how to execute a massive career pivot when you feel completely and totally stuck.
Exactly.
That's right. We gathered a really fascinating stack of sources for this deep dive. We're pulling from psychologists, career strategy experts like Dory Clark, self-help gurus like Charlemagne Tygod,
Right.
and some powerful personal stories from professional athletes like the NBA star Chris Bosh, who were literally forced to change everything overnight. Yeah, so our goal today is to give you the mental blueprint and the precise intermediate English vocabulary you need to talk about these really complex life shifts.
And I resonate so much with the struggle they talk about in the source material. I mean, we all know that feeling, right?
Yeah.
You want to change. Maybe you want to start procrastinating. Or for our listeners, maybe you want to start speaking English more confidently, but you just keep finding yourself stuck.
In the same old patterns.
The same old comfortable patterns. For me, I know I shouldn't look at my phone every 5 minutes, but then, bam, I'm scrolling again. I hear that voice in my head saying, oh, I'll do it later. Why do we keep making the same mistakes, even when we consciously know better?
That is the crucial, complex question at the core of our whole exploration today.
Yeah.
And the answer, when you kind of distill it from all of these diverse experts, is it's pretty profound. True, lasting change rarely sticks if you only focus on changing the habits. Yeah, you have to focus on fundamentally changing your identity. You change who you believe you are, and then the habits, they just naturally follow. It's not the other way around.
Identity leading behavior.
Yeah.
That is a total shift in perspective for me. I've always got, okay, if I act differently, eventually I'll feel different.
Right, the fake it till you make it idea.
Yeah. But you're saying I have to believe I'm a different person first.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really, really interesting. And this is the hook we want you, the listener, to stick around for.
Okay.
One of our major sources suggests that the secret to finding your true goals, your purpose, it isn't found by searching outside yourself. Not on social media, not in comparing your life to others.
Where is it then?
It's by achieving a special kind of internal silence. The surprising connection is that if you actively stop comparing yourself to others, you can actually hear your own voice.
Use your own voice.
And find out what you truly want, not what you think society tells you that you should want.
Wow. Turning down all that external noise to hear that quiet internal voice. I mean, that sounds like a radical idea in our super connected world.
It is.
It sounds like so much of the battle for reinvention is actually fought internally, way before it ever becomes visible on the outside with a new job or a new skill.
Precisely. And we're going to break down exactly how to create that internal silence, how to handle those huge career pivot when your identity is all tied up in your profession.
And how to apply these concepts to your language learning journey.
Right. We also have a fun and challenging pop quiz ready for you later using all the intermediate vocabulary we're about to unpack.
We're going to make sure you walk away not just motivated, but with the English tools to talk about this really sophisticated topic of change.
For sure.
Okay, before we dive into the core material, we have a quick but mandatory request. If you enjoy learning English with us and you find these deep dives valuable, please explicitly subscribe to Global English Podcast and like the episode right now.
It helps us tremendously. It lets us reach more learners just like you.
Okay, let's unpack this idea of identity first. We often create this fixed story about ourselves, right? Like, I'm just a procrastinator, or for our English learners, I'm just not good at grammar, or my accent is bad because I'm not a native speaker.
And that fixed story is incredibly destructive. The sources really emphasize this because the identity is what dictates the behavior.
Right.
If you believe you are naturally a procrastinator, your brain doesn't just see starting early as difficult. It sees it as impossible or alien.
It's not you.
It's not you.
Right.
The brain prefers the known story, the comfortable path, even if that path is harmful for you.
So if I'm constantly thinking I struggle with public speaking, my brain is literally strengthening the neural pathway of struggling.
Yeah.
It's making my anxiety worse for the next time I have to speak.
Absolutely. It's following your orders. It's reinforcing the story you keep telling it. You are training your brain without even realizing it. Every single time you say, I'm just bad at this, your brain allocates resources to strengthen the neural network that supports that belief.
It's like an old, worn-out shoe.
That's a great analogy. The old identity feels comfortable exactly like that. It
Yeah.
holds you back not because it's good for you, but just because it's familiar.
So reinvention requires consciously, like dissolving that old story.
Yes.
I think that's why the story of Colonel Sanders is so compelling. He started KFC in his 60s after failing at so many different careers.
Right.
He didn't let his past failures define his final identity.
Hmm?
He became the Colonel.
Yeah.
It shows that reinvention has no age limit.
It's all about who you are intentionally becoming, not who you were by default. And this brings us to a key phrase we've been throwing around. We really need to spotlight this for our listeners.
Okay.
What does it truly mean to reinvent yourself?
That's a huge, powerful idea. It needs a clear definition.
For sure. So to reinvent yourself, it's a verb phrase. It means to completely change or transform who you are.
Completely.
Yeah, fundamentally altering your personality, your career, your lifestyle. It's often a very intentional, dramatic shift in direction.
So not just a small adjustment.
No, you're undergoing a fundamental transformation, moving into a completely new field, or adopting a totally new set of core beliefs.
Okay, let's hear a few different examples so we can really internalize the definition and hear how people actually use this phrase.
Of course. Let's start with a formal example. After the major scandal, the politician attempted to completely reinvent herself with a new, transparent public focus on community service and ethical governance.
A deep shift in her public image. Got it.
Exactly. Now a casual one. Every summer, my friend tries to reinvent her style by only wearing clothes she finds at vintage stores and changing her hobbies entirely.
That's fun.
Yeah, one year it's pottery, the next it's cycling. It's a fun, personal kind of change.
And what about a funny one?
Okay, a funny example. Our cat, Mittens, decided to reinvent his personality overnight. He used to be friendly and playful, but now he only stares silently from dark corners, demanding organic salmon.
Like a tiny, demanding aristocrat.
Exactly. He's reinvented himself.
That cat is definitely having a personal crisis.
Hmm.
I totally get that desire, though. I've always wanted to reinvent myself as a morning person.
The classic.
Let's try a mini skit using this phrase, because that desire to change a core habit is so common.
Great idea. A mini skit is a great way to embed the term. I'll be your supportive but slightly skeptical friend.
Okay.
I'm going to push you toward action.
Here we go. I'm so exhausted. I set my alarm for 5 a.m., hoping to exercise, but then I just hit snooze for 2 hours. I'm clearly not built for mornings.
Stop making excuses. You keep telling yourself, I am a night owl, and that's the identity you keep reinforcing. Maybe you need to stop making excuses and consciously reinvent yourself as someone who genuinely loves the quiet morning hours.
Someone who gets energy from starting early. You're right. I need to commit to the identity of the morning person, not just the action of setting an alarm. I need to completely reinvent my schedule so this new identity becomes real, not just a fantasy.
Spot on. And when we look at collocations for reinvent yourself, you often hear pairings that really emphasize the size of the change.
Like what?
Think of phrases like completely reinvent, personal reinvention, or talking about someone who is constantly reinventing their business model or their artistic style. It suggests this ongoing, huge process.
That is so much clearer. Okay, now that we've defined that necessary identity shift, let's go back to the brain following orders. You mentioned a specific term for that powerful mental loop.
I did.
The one where our belief makes the outcome happen.
Yes. It's a formal sounding phrase, but it's extremely powerful and so critical for this discussion. It describes the psychological mechanism behind being stuck.
And that phrase is?
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Okay, that sounds really dramatic. Like something from a stock market documentary or, I don't know, a classic tragedy.
It kind of is.
So what exactly is a self-fulfilling prophecy?
A self-fulfilling prophecy, it's a noun phrase, is when you believe something so strongly that your actions, often unconsciously, make that belief come true.
So you're making it happen without realizing it.
Yes. If you expect a specific outcome, you tend to act in ways that ensure that outcome happens. The thought literally creates the reality.
So if I believe deep down that I'm going to fail an upcoming presentation in English, I might unconsciously avoid practicing the hard vocabulary words, or I might stay up late worrying, which makes me tired and I forget my lines.
That is the vicious cycle, perfectly described.
The belief paves the way for the failure.
Your actions unconsciously align with the belief. Often it's because your brain finds it easier to just reinforce the known story, the prophecy, than to write a new one where you actually succeed.
Let's make this concrete. Can you give us 3 different examples?
Of course. Let's do a formal one first. Investor panic often causes a classic self-fulfilling prophecy. They believe the market will crash, so they all sell their stocks.
And the massive selling causes the crash they were afraid of.
Exactly. Okay, a casual example. She was so convinced she would fail her driving test because of nerves that her anxiety peaked during the parallel parking part, causing an error.
And making her prediction a self-fulfilling prophecy.
You got it. And a funny one, I predicted the holiday party would be absolutely boring. And because I kept complaining to everyone and just stood alone in the corner, I ensured that my prediction became a self-fulfilling prophecy for myself and probably everyone around me.
That last one really shows how much power our internal narrative has. But here's my question.
Go for it.
If the brain is wired for repetition and comfort, like you said, how do we stop that initial negative thought before it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy? I mean, that feels almost impossible if you've been thinking that way for years.
That's the moment of maximum difficulty, you're right. And that's why step 1 is always just identifying the prophecy, becoming like a mental detective. And you're right, just stopping the negative thought is incredibly hard. So what the experts suggest is not to stop the thought, but to substitute it.
Substitute it.
Yeah. You don't say, don't think about elephants. You say, think about zebras.
So I have to proactively write a new story. Okay, let's role play that English student scenario. That'll really cement the idea of substitution.
Perfect. I'll be the student who's locked into the negative prediction, and you be the encouraging friend helping me rewrite the script.
All right, let's do it.
Jordan, I know I'm going to fail this advanced English exam. I just know it. I'm terrible at grammar. I always struggle with languages, and I'm going to freeze when the teacher asks me a question.
Okay, stop right there.
Yeah.
You are creating a dangerous, self-fulfilling prophecy. Instead of focusing on failure, you need to substitute that thought. See this with me. I am taking small steps to improve my grammar every day.
Okay. I am taking small steps.
I may make mistakes, but I am learning quickly.
I may make mistakes, but I am learning quickly.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm learning every day, and mistakes are proof that I am trying. I need to break that vicious cycle.
Exactly. You have to change that fixed identity that is holding you back.
Bingo. And common collocations for this are exactly that. Vicious cycle, dangerous prophecy, or you'll hear people say it's a classic self-fulfilling prophecy. The term always emphasizes the power of a belief turning into a real, concrete reality.
Okay, so we know we need to shift the belief away from that prophecy and substitute the narrative. But practically speaking, how do we actually solidify that new positive identity? It can't just be wishful thinking.
It cannot. And the sources offer 2 fantastic practical steps. First, and this is crucial, is visualization.
Visualization.
You have to clearly, vividly imagine the future self. This isn't just, daydreaming. It's active mental work.
So for an English learner, instead of just a vague goal like I want to get better at English, I need to spend time every morning visualizing myself, speaking confidently in a big meeting. I need to picture my body language, me smiling, the feeling of understanding a complicated joke in a movie without subtitles.
Yeah.
Like, really see that successful version of me.
Exactly. And this isn't magical thinking. There's a neuroscientific basis for this. One source noted the brain doesn't really know the difference between a strong, repeated imagination and a real lived experience.
No way.
Yeah. When you visualize, you start building and strengthening the neural pathways you need. Think of the reticular activating system, the RAS in your brain.
Okay.
When you tell your brain, this is who we are now, a confident English speaker, your brain starts looking for proof of that in the real world. It starts filtering information to confirm your new identity. It makes the goal feel more real.
That feels so powerful. It stops being a vague hope and starts becoming like an impending reality that your brain is actively working toward. The visualization is the blueprint.
It's the blueprint.
So what's the second practical step, the one that builds physical, external momentum?
The second step is small, consistent actions. And this is where most people fail. We try to make these massive overhauls like, I'll study for 2 hours every single day, start a new diet, and save 50% of my paycheck all at once.
And it's just overwhelming.
It's completely overwhelming. And we end up doing nothing because the barrier to entry is just too high. Big changes are heavy, they're intimidating, and they're unsustainable.
I totally get that. I try to be super productive all day on a Monday, and by Tuesday morning, I'm already tired, and I've quit because I crashed and burned.
Big change happens from tiny, almost ridiculously small steps. So instead of, I have to study English for an hour, Just commit to 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
5 minutes of focused English practice a day. Maybe listening to one short podcast or writing 3 sentences in English. That feels so doable. And once you start, momentum usually takes over.
Right. The hardest part is just starting.
Exactly.
So the power isn't in the size of the action, it's in the consistency, the frequency.
Yes, like water eroding a rock.
Oh, I like that.
It's a great analogy from the material. One drop of water does nothing to a rock, but drops falling every single day consistently will make a deep, noticeable hole.
That's the power of consistency.
Reading 1 page every day is infinitely better than reading 50 pages once a month. It builds unstoppable momentum, reinforces the new identity, and it beats procrastination.
And what about our environment? The sources mention that the environment has to support the change, or we'll just go back to our default settings.
Right. You cannot reinvent yourself if your environment is constantly pulling you back to the old version of you.
So if my phone is distracting me, the 5-minute rule will fail.
It will. Put the phone in another room. Turn off notifications. If you want to speak English, change your phone and computer settings to English.
Immerse yourself.
Immerse yourself. Put sticky notes around your room with new vocabulary. You have to change your physical and digital environments to match the person you are becoming.
That's a strong foundation. Okay, let's transition to career change, because that's where this idea of reinvention really hits hard, and the stakes feel so much higher.
They really do.
The sources shared stories about people feeling limited in their role, even if they make good money. That whole better paycheck, less human feeling problem.
This was a huge recurring theme. We saw highly educated people in high-paying jobs, a financial crimes analyst, people in corporate tech who felt completely miserable.
Using really strong words.
Very strong negative words. Soul-sucking, mentally numbing, mind-numbingly dull. They felt this massive disconnect because they missed engaging with people or feeling like they were contributing something meaningful.
And what's so encouraging is that the sources prove reinvention has no age limit. We heard about people changing careers in their 30s, 40s.
And even a 72-year-old who moved from clinical microbiology into high-stress cybersecurity.
That's amazing. It's never too late.
Never. And one of the key realizations from those who successfully pivoted is that often the job itself isn't the problem. It's the lack of growth potential.
Right.
The warehouse worker who shared his story, for example, he felt he had no clear ladder for advancement. And when people try to move up or switch industries, they often hit this invisible barrier.
An invisible barrier related to their past experience or their network.
Exactly. And that sounds like a perfect vocabulary term for us to define.
It does. What is this common metaphor we use for professional limits, especially the invisible ones?
That is the idiom of the glass ceiling.
Okay, I hear that term constantly, especially in discussions about business and corporate structure. Let's break down exactly what it means.
So the glass ceiling is an invisible barrier that prevents an individual or a group of people from rising higher in a company or a field.
It's called glass because you can see the top.
Exactly. You can see the executive suite, you can see the promotions, the power, but you just can't physically reach it. It's an invisible barrier.
And it's felt by people trying to break out of their industry
Yeah.
who don't have the right connections or credentials.
Precisely. Let's make it real with some layered examples.
Okay, let's hear them.
A formal example. Despite her outstanding qualifications, the near-total absence of women in the executive ranks suggested she had hit a clear glass ceiling in that financial institution.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
How about a casual one?
I realized after 5 years, there was nowhere higher to go in my marketing job. I felt like I was constantly bumping into the glass ceiling of middle management because the company only promotes people with MBAs.
So relatable. And a funny one.
I was trying to install a very tall bookshelf in my apartment, but I kept hitting the literal glass ceiling of the hanging light fixture above my head every time I lifted the hammer.
Okay, I completely grasp that sense of frustration. That feeling of being stuck despite your best efforts is the worst.
It is.
Let's try a quick skit about an employee feeling that lack of growth potential, like that warehouse worker source.
Great. I'll be the manager. You can be the frustrated employee.
Okay. Hi, I've been here 8 years. I'm dedicated. I know the operations inside and out. I'm ready for a supervisor role. Are there any opportunities for growth?
Jordan, you are invaluable here in the warehouse. Your work ethic is phenomenal. But unfortunately, due to the new corporate restructuring, we can't promote you beyond your current level without a specialized certification. It seems like you've hit a definite glass ceiling in this company.
Oof, I'm tired of hitting this invictable barrier. I guess it's time to reinvent myself completely and find a new industry where I can shatter that ceiling entirely.
And that's exactly what people do. When you talk about this, you often hear collocations like shattering the glass ceiling, invisible barrier, or simply to hit a ceiling. It just encapsulates that feeling of being stuck.
But moving to a new career is so taxing, even when it's necessary. The sources talked about the mental toll, like imposter syndrome.
That feeling that you don't belong.
Yeah, and how daunting and nauseating the idea of starting over can feel when you're, say, 40.
That mental toll is absolutely real. And the sources really highlight the critical importance of having strong emotional and financial support.
Right.
The person who pivoted from marketing to teaching said that changing careers as an adult is a privilege. They couldn't have done it without their spouse's encouragement and financial cushion to cover the retraining time.
That makes perfect sense. You need a runway to make that change.
You do. And another person who switched to software engineering after being medically retired from the military said his biggest hurdle wasn't the code, it was himself.
Fighting that feeling of despair and professional uselessness.
Exactly. It takes real mental resilience. Which brings us to the strategy suggested by the expert, Dory Clark.
She literally wrote the book Reinventing You.
She did. She herself made a massive pivot from philosophy and theological studies to becoming a renowned branding expert.
Wow. So what was her strategy for building a successful, sustainable new career?
Her advice was to not try to do everything at once. She advised a slow, methodical approach to building multiple professional facets. The key is this. Start with one revenue stream and master it first.
One thing.
One thing. Corporate consulting, for example. Get a steady flow of clients, figure out the logistics, and get that first plate spinning successfully and reliably.
That is fantastic advice. It goes right back to the small, consistent actions rule, but just applied on a business scale. Don't launch 10 things at once or you'll burn out.
Precisely. She calls it the one facet per year rule because it can take that long to truly master the process and build a reputation.
So her own career evolved methodically.
Yes. She started with consulting, then added executive coaching, then teaching at a university, and finally writing books. All added slowly, allowing the previous activities to go on autopilot.
That makes the gigantic goal of being a successful consultant feel so much more manageable. She also mentioned some core transferable skills. Right?
Yes, two critical ones from her liberal arts background that proved invaluable. First, the ability to write clearly and well.
Always useful.
And second, being a comfortable, effective public speaker. She said her experience in an improv troupe was critical for learning how to recover quickly from mistakes and handle unexpected questions.
Those soft skills are invaluable currency no matter what technical industry you pivot into.
Absolutely.
That's a great roadmap for a planned career pivot. But what about when life forces a change on you? It's so easy to compare your journey to others, especially when you're starting over.
That comparison is maybe the loudest form of internal noise. You see someone your age hitting a huge milestone, and your own progress suddenly feels agonizingly tiny.
But you have to focus on your own map, your own timeline.
You do. I love the analogy one expert used about speed. Imagine two people walking to the exact same place. One walks fast, the other walks slowly.
The slow one still gets there.
The slow one still gets there. Being faster isn't the only way to win.
That's a critical mindset.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're just completely forced off your path, which is what happened to NBA star Chris Bosh.
A dramatic example. He was an extremely high-level successful basketball player. His entire identity, his income, his passion, everything was tied up in his sport.
And his career just ended.
Suddenly.
It did. A pulmonary embolism, a sudden and severe medical issue with blood clots. He was only 31.
Wow.
And he was immediately thrust into this period of deep reflection and reevaluation. He had to figure out what else he loved besides basketball. Imagine losing your entire professional self overnight.
That must have been devastating. Dealing with the shock, the anger, the loss of identity, that sudden void of purpose. How did he describe navigating that forced change?
He described that period as being forced to stop and fundamentally reshuffle the deck.
Reshuffle the deck?
Yeah. He had to suddenly stop giving all his time and energy to basketball and start being a full-time, present husband and father, which was a massive shock to his whole system.
That is a wonderful visual way to describe a total life overhaul. Let's define that. What does it mean to reshuffle the deck in a life context? So, to reshuffle the deck is an idiom from card games. It means to reorganize or change the entire situation or set of plans, often because the old arrangement is no longer working.
Like dealing a completely new hand of cards.
Exactly. It's a complete restart or overhaul, usually under unexpected or dramatic pressure.
Give us those 3 layered examples so we can get it.
Okay, a formal one. Due to the unexpected regulatory changes, the executive team was forced to reshuffle the deck and assign new strategies and leadership to several key departments.
Got it. A casual one.
After the landlord sold the building unexpectedly, we had to quickly reshuffle the deck and find a new neighborhood to live in, completely changing our commute and social plans.
Ugh, that's stressful.
And a funny one.
After realizing my to-do list for the weekend was impossible, it included writing a novel and cleaning the garage, I just deleted everything and decided to reshuffle the deck with only 3 achievable tasks and a mandatory nap.
That nap sounds critical. Let's quickly role-play a boss announcing a huge organizational change. Okay, I'll be the stressed boss trying to communicate a difficult corporate decision.
Boss, I just got the memo about the layoffs and the new team structure. What does this massive change actually mean for our roles?
Frankly, Jordan, we are in crisis mode due to the budget cuts. The company is forced to reshuffle the entire deck. Starting Monday, you will be taking on project management and sales, entirely new responsibilities.
Wow, that is a huge adjustment. I guess it's time to start planning my next steps. This is a complete reshuffle of the cards in my professional life.
Excellent usage. Other collocations are forced to reshuffle, a complete reshuffle, or simply reshuffling the cards. It always conveys that sense of total, often unwilling, reorganization.
During this difficult reshuffle, Chris Bosch talked about feeling that void, dealing with self-doubt.
Second-guessing everything.
So common when you lose your primary identity. What was his advice for getting out of that despair?
His advice here is incredibly focused and practical. Self-motivation.
Self-motivation.
He stressed that nobody is coming through the door to save you. If you're waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect person to validate your pivot, it is not coming.
Wow.
You have to decide to pick yourself up and start putting in the work now. He makes the tough point that complaining gets old, and eventually people get tired of hearing you complain.
That is a hard truth, but a really important one. Stop the pity party and start looking for solutions.
And this self-motivation is deeply tied into the incredible concept of grace that Charlemagne Tygod discussed, the idea of radical self-forgiveness. We often beat ourselves up. We want to completely erase the past, flawed versions of ourselves. But he learned that you have to love and forgive every version of yourself because every single experience led you to where you are now.
That is transformative. How does he manage that intense inner critic, especially after years of being a provocative radio personality?
He offers this deep psychological insight. He says, you got to give yourself grace because you just did not know what it is that you know now. So why would you ever beat yourself up for what you did not know?
Wow.
His practice is literally to go and hug the younger 25-year-old mistake-making version of himself in his mind and tell him, I'm glad you made that mistake because it taught us this.
Stop punishing yourself now for things you didn't know then. That applies to every single listener. It releases so much heavy, useless emotional weight.
And he connects it to the bigger picture of life itself. He encourages listeners to adopt the mindset that life is just a process. I don't believe in good or bad moments. Everything is just one long process.
And things happen for you, not to you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He says to ask, what am I supposed to learn from this moment?
That perspective is powerful, but it requires a lot of peace to process, which leads perfectly into the feeling of burnout.
Right.
That feeling of just going through the motions. We heard about the financial crimes analyst who hated the mundane, repetitive work and felt numb from scrolling through endless Excel cells.
That feeling of mentally checking out is a real sign you need to reinvent something. When you do mundane tasks day in and day out, your brain shifts into this specific mindless state.
It's functioning on muscle memory.
Yes. It doesn't have to put any cognitive effort into it.
What's the perfect, common phrase to describe doing something entirely mindlessly?
We call that state being on autopilot.
On autopilot. What does that mean for a person or a process?
The phrase on autopilot means performing actions automatically without conscious thought, input, or passion, much like an aircraft flying itself.
It implies a total lack of engagement or excitement.
Usually because the task is so repetitive.
Let's hear those layered examples for being on autopilot.
Okay, a formal example. Once Dory Clark's coaching programs became successful, that revenue stream could largely run on autopilot, freeing up her mental energy to focus on writing her next book.
Makes sense. A casual one.
After working a difficult 12-hour shift, I drove home entirely on autopilot, and I barely remember the journey or even stopping at the traffic lights.
I've done that. And a funny one.
My roommate frequently sleepwalks, so sometimes he makes a midnight snack while he's completely on autopilot. He doesn't wake up until he sees the crumbs and dirty dishes the next morning.
I feel like I've spent too many hours driving home on autopilot. It's a sign that I need more intentionality in my life. Let's skip that boring admin work scenario.
Okay, I'll be the supervisor, checking in on your productivity.
Ugh, I've been reviewing these transaction logs for 4 hours now. I feel completely numb. My brain is only half working. I think I'm running on autopilot.
You absolutely need a break, Jordan. When you're stuck on autopilot doing repetitive work, you start making crucial, silly mistakes. Step away and reset for 15 minutes.
Good idea. My brain is completely checked out. I need to get off autopilot before I accidentally approve a suspicious transaction.
Excellent usage. Collocations are often go on autopilot, mentally checked out, or stuck on autopilot. It describes doing that tedious work without engagement, often a precursor to burnout.
So one way to break free from this feeling is finding intentional peace. Charlemagne discussed a unique practice he does.
He did. He talked about grounding, or as he calls it, tree hugging, sometimes lying face down, ass up on the grass, putting his hands on a tree, or just laying flat on the ground and focusing on gratitude.
A daily ritual to find peace by eliminating distractions.
Completely. No phone, no internal noise, just connecting with the earth. He talks about feeling the healing energy from the earth, finding peace by looking at the sun.
And finding gratitude in everything, even the bad moments that force the reshuffle.
Absolutely. The peace comes from intentional silence and gratitude. He argues that genuine gratitude is a lost art. Many people today operate with a sense of entitlement.
Expecting the world to give them things.
Right. Instead, he argues we should be grateful for every single opportunity, even the struggles that teach us resilience.
And when you finally achieve that silence and that peace, you can finally start to hear your own true voice, which leads to our final big takeaway, purpose. What did the sources ultimately define as the true purpose of life?
Charlemagne was very clear, and it echoed other sources. The true purpose in life is service to others.
Service to others.
He emphasizes that this starts by serving yourself first, healing your trauma, finding your peace, getting on your own healing journey.
And then, once you're stable,
then you find ways to serve the community, volunteering, mentoring, creating content that helps others.
So it's not about what you get from life. It's about what you give. You have to work on yourself first so you're stable enough to then effectively lift others up.
That is the ultimate form of reinvention, becoming a person of service.
I think we've covered some incredibly deep, challenging, and hopeful material today.
We really have.
But we can't let our English learners go without correcting a very common linguistic mistake we hear when people talk about negative self-talk.
I know exactly which one you mean. It's the confusion between the adjective and the noun form when you're expressing emotion.
Right. If I'm struggling with my inner dialogue and I want to accurately describe my emotional state, can I say, I'm feeling sadness when I mean I'm feeling sad? It sounds more sophisticated, maybe.
That's a great observation, and it's a very common mistake. While sadness is the correct noun for the emotion, native speakers almost never say, I'm feeling sadness.
It sounds unnatural.
It sounds very stiff and academic, not conversational at all.
So what would a native speaker say instead?
They would just stick to the adjective, I'm feeling sad. Or maybe a more nuanced adjective like I'm feeling discouraged or I'm feeling low.
Okay.
If you absolutely want to use the noun sadness, you have to build the sentence differently, like I have a feeling of sadness or I'm dealing with a lot of sadness right now.
But for just describing your current state, stick to the adjective.
Yeah.
I am feeling sad. I am feeling happy. I am feeling overwhelmed.
Exactly. That will make you sound much more natural.
Super helpful advice.
All right, Jordan, and all of you listening, let's see how much of that advanced vocabulary stuck with you. It is time for the pop quiz.
I'm ready. Bring it on. I think our listeners are ready too.
Okay, number 1. What is the term for an invisible career barrier that prevents someone from rising higher in their job?
That is the glass ceiling.
Correct. Number 2. What is the verb phrase that means completely transforming who you are, your career, or your identity?
To reinvent yourself.
Spot on. Number 3. What is the idiom for reorganizing the entire situation or set of plans, often under unexpected pressure?
That's reshuffling the deck.
Excellent. Number 4. What is the phrase for performing actions automatically without conscious thought, often due to repetitive work?
That's being on autopilot.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And finally, number 5. What is the powerful noun phrase for believing something so strongly that your actions make that belief come true?
That is the self-fulfilling prophecy.
Fantastic work, Jordan, and fantastic work to everyone listening. You've just mastered 5 key terms for discussing deep personal and professional change.
So to wrap up, let's summarize the 3 most important points for our listeners' journey of reinvention today.
Okay, first, identity. You have to stop that negative inner dialogue, that self-fulfilling prophecy. Change your story from, I'm bad at this, to, I'm improving every day.
Use visualization as the blueprint.
Your brain will follow those orders.
Second, action. Don't wait for a massive overhaul. Focus on small, consistent steps, like the 5-minute rule.
Remember, consistency beats intensity every single time, like water eroding rock.
Build that momentum slowly but surely.
And third, grace. Give yourself and others grace for past mistakes. Stop punishing yourself now for things you didn't know then.
Embrace the idea that life is a process, and everything that has happened, the setbacks, the failures, is for you, not to you.
So true.
Our micro challenge for you today is simple. In your thoughts or speech, try to use one of the words we covered. Maybe you catch yourself going on autopilot while doing a chore.
Or maybe you commit to reinventing a small habit, like practicing a difficult grammar structure for just 5 minutes. If you do that, you've started the process.
You have. And don't forget to like and subscribe to Global English Podcast. We love having you with us on this deep dive.
We'll see you next time.
I'm Jordan. See you next time.
And I'm Taylor.